Welcome to the fourth video in this playlist on empowering security analysts with Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence or MDTI. My name is Terry Clancy. In this video, we discuss the use of Microsoft Sentinel with MDTI. After introducing the topic and why it's important, we briefly overview the key features of Sentinel, highlighting the areas that Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence or MDTI adds value. Then we delve into the integration between Sentinel and MDTI, covering how to install and use the key component. This section includes several how-to demos designed to accelerate your adoption and accelerate your time to value. If you're already familiar with any of the topics, feel free to use this timestamp guide to jump directly to your topics of interest. Microsoft Sentinel is a scalable, cloud-native security information and event management or SIEM solution that offers an intelligent and comprehensive approach to SIEM and security, orchestration, automation and response or SOAR. It provides robust capabilities for cyber threat detection, investigation, response, and proactive hunting, giving you a bird's eye view across your enterprise. With connectors available for over 300 data sources, Sentinel excels in collecting logs and events. Its diverse rule types and playbooks create a sophisticated infrastructure for threat detection and response. But collection is not detection. Effective threat detection relies heavily on up-to-date, high-quality threat intelligence, which is why we recommend integration with MDTI. Particularly important are indicators of compromise, or IOCs, which are the signatures Sentinel uses to identify threats and generate alerts. Equally critical is enrichment data, which enables you to identify related threats and recognize coordinated attacks, and link alerts together to create cohesive incidents to better understand and respond. It's also important to integrate Microsoft Defender XDR with Microsoft Sentinel to stream all Defender XDR incidents and advanced hunting events into Sentinel and keep incidents and events synchronized between Sentinel and Defender XDR. There are two approaches to choose from when integrating Sentinel and Defender XDR. This slide illustrates the first option where you ingest Microsoft Defender XDR service data into Sentinel and view Sentinel in the Azure portal, as you can see in this example. In this case, you need to enable the Defender XDR connector in Microsoft Sentinel. The second and preferred option is to integrate Microsoft Sentinel and Defender XDR into a single unified security operations platform in the Microsoft Defender portal. Future investments are aligned with this approach. In this case, as you can see here, you view Sentinel data directly in the Microsoft Defender portal with the rest of your Defender incidents, alerts, vulnerabilities, and other security data. In this case, you need to enable the Defender XDR connector in Microsoft Sentinel and onboard Microsoft Sentinel into the Defender portal. Please follow the link on this slide for more detailed information and instructions on setting up these options. Note also that in this presentation we'll be adding additional integrations not shown on this slide directly between MDTI and Sentinel, as shown by the red arrow. Together, Microsoft Sentinel, Defender Threat Intelligence, Copilot for Security, Defender XDR, and related products form the Microsoft Unified Security Operations Platform. Each of these components appear in the Defender portal within one or more of the blades shown on this slide. This unified view brings together all the highlights and capabilities from your SIEM, XDR, and Security Copilot, allowing you to see all active incidents across your tools alongside threat intelligence. This integration ensures you can quickly access threat intelligence and work from a single unified list of incidents. Up-to-date threat intelligence from Defender Threat Intelligence is crucial across this suite, ensuring security operations can detect and respond to the latest threat in the rapidly evolving threat landscape. So, to fully leverage Microsoft Sentinel's capabilities, we recommend integrating it with Defender Threat Intelligence. It offers a suite of powerful features designed to enhance your organization's security posture. Key features include continuous threat intelligence that provides real-time insights into cyber threats. This includes raw intelligence such as information on IP addresses, DNS entries, cookies, etc., and finished intelligence, such as articles, intel profiles about actors and tooling, and activity snapshots from 8,000 experts informed by 65 trillion signals. This includes indicators of compromise, or IOCs, which are the signatures that Sentinel uses to recognize threats, updated tactics, techniques, and procedures, or TTPs, recommendations, and reputation scoring to prioritize threats. All this provides a wealth of intel allowing Sentinel to identify threats and create incidents, and then enrich those incidents and related alerts with detailed context. It then helps streamline incident response and threat hunting workflows and provides detailed reports enabling security teams to quickly identify and mitigate threats. Okay, let's move on and now focus on the MDTI integration with Sentinel, which was announced in March 2024. That integration is available as two solutions in the Sentinel Content Hub. The Threat Intelligence solution for Sentinel includes 5 connectors, including most importantly the Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence Data Connector, which ingests a subset of freely available public IOCs, and the premium Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence Data Connector, which provides value-added and more up-to-date IOCs from the MDTI team. Note that the premium users will want to use both of these connectors. The solution also includes 1 Threat Intelligence Workbook, 53 Analytics Rules, and 5 hunting queries. There is also the separate Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence solution for Sentinel, which includes 1 Threat Intelligence Workbook and 8 MDTI Playbooks. As you will see, the combination of all these components can greatly help with threat detection, dynamic incident enhancement, and threat hunting and remediation. Before we dive into installing and using these integrations between Sentinel and MDTI, let's first level set with a review of the key features of Sentinel, highlighting where MDTI adds value. I'll cover these as quickly as possible, but if you're already familiar with Sentinel, feel free to skip ahead in the video. To start with, it's worth understanding that Sentinel is built on top of an Azure Log Analytics workspace. Azure Log Analytics is a component of Azure Monitor. Log Analytics handles data collection, log management, log query handling, data retention options, alerts and automation, and provides visualization and dashboard options as well as integration with other Azure services. As a Sentinel user, you can just ignore all of this, but having this as a foundation does provide a lot of flexibility and integration options. Sentinel also uses other Azure apps. For example, Sentinel Workbooks are Azure Workbooks, and Sentinel Playbooks are based on Azure Logic apps. Let's quickly look at what Sentinel provides in each of the stages of the security lifecycle. Sentinel allows you to collect data at scale across all your users, devices, applications, and infrastructure, both on-premises and in multiple clouds. We have over 300 data connectors ready to use out of the box for you to get started. Sentinel data collectors primarily use the Azure Monitor Agent, or AMA, to collect and ingest log data from a broad range of Windows and Linux VMs running either in Azure, on-premises, and in other cloud environments via Azure Arc-enabled servers. AMA replaces the legacy Log Analytics Agent. AMA can ingest data from both syslog and Common Event Format or CEF sources, making it a very versatile tool. A log ingestion API is also available. Regardless of source, all log data is normalized before being stored in Sentinel. Data connectors usually come packaged in a Sentinel solution, which will often also install other components optimized for that data source. This often includes related workbooks to display data from predefined and customizable KQL queries, and analytics rules to detect threats and trigger incidents. Moving on to the stage of monitor and detect. Sentinel workbooks allow you to create rich interactive reports and visualizations by combining data from multiple sources. The data displayed is defined by customizable KQL queries. Integrating Sentinel with MDTI will enrich your data, enabling your workbook visualizations to capture more threats and provide more detail, context, and prioritization. Incidents are aggregations of related alerts that represent potential security threats. Incidents combine evidence from various sources such as analytics rules and third-party security products to allow you to get to the root cause of an issue. Each incident includes details like severity, status, and associated MITRE, ATT, and CK tactics and techniques. Sentinel delivers a full-featured case management platform. Analysts can use the Incident Details page to triage incidents, manage assignments, gather all relevant information, run investigations, track status, and utilize tools and tasks in one centralized location. Sentinel also supports the use of automation rules and playbooks to take action to respond to threats. Because Sentinel integration with MDTI Premium brings in more and higher quality IOCs and allows for enrichment of your data, you will see more and higher quality incidents with better prioritization and richer details. Analytics rules represent the real secret sauce for Sentinel. They generate alerts when they find what they're looking for. Alerts contain information about the events detected, such as entities, users, devices, addresses, and other items involved. Rules can also aggregate correlated alerts into incidents, which are like case files that you can assign and investigate to learn the full extent of the detected threat and respond accordingly. Incident creation can also trigger Playbook, which we will discuss later, to execute automated responses. There are various types of rules as shown on this slide. Machine learning rules have been a real game changer in being able to detect actionable anomalies and detect advanced multi-stage attacks by correlating many low-fidelity alerts and events across multiple products into high-fidelity and actionable incidents. The effectiveness of all these rules depends on data, and so again, because Sentinel integration with MDTI Premium brings in more and higher quality IOCs and enrichment of your data, far better detections happen when this is in place. All analytics rules should be configured to specify the MITRE techniques they apply to. This allows the MITRE, ATT, and CK map to provide a visualization of vulnerabilities and coverage provided by those analytics rules. Integration with Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence is strongly recommended and will be discussed in much more detail later in this presentation. However, other threat intelligence integrations are possible with taxi-compliant servers using the STIX protocol. Good threat intelligence allows analytics rules to find more alerts and make more correlations, leading to more and better quality incidents, which can then in turn be enriched. And it allows threat hunters to drill down into much more detail. It also allows Copilot for security to reason over much more data and identify otherwise undetectable correlations. Okay, now moving on to the investigate stage. Advanced hunting in Microsoft Sentinel allows security analysts to proactively search for threats across their environment using built-in or custom Custo Query Language or KQL queries to test hypotheses and narrow searches. By leveraging the MDTI connector, analysts can enhance their hunting capabilities with high-fidelity IOCs such as IP addresses, domains, URLs, file hashes, and reports to help you better understand adversaries and their tactics, techniques, and procedures, or TTPs. Jupyter Notebooks provide an interactive environment where you can write and execute code, visualize data, and document your analysis all in one place. They combine full programmability with a vast collection of libraries for machine learning, data visualization, and analysis. They enable the automation of repetitive tasks and the development of complex hunting queries using Python and other languages. Analysts can leverage the Python MSTICPY library, which includes a range of cybersecurity tools for data querying, threat intelligence lookups, and enrichment functions like geolocation and IOC extraction. Sentinel supports the creation of watch lists, for example with a list of high-value assets such as terminated employees or service accounts in your environment. You can use them in queries to correlate data from a list you provide with the events in your Microsoft Sentinel environment. You can use watch lists in your search, detection rules, threat hunting, and response playbooks. You can, for example, use watch lists to focus on high-risk entities, or conversely, to reduce alert fatigue by creating allow lists to suppress alerts from known authorized sources. The Sentinel Investigation Graph is a powerful tool for security analysts, offering a visual and intuitive way to investigate incidents. It correlates and graphs data from multiple sources, making it easier to understand the scope and root cause of potential security threats. By mapping out the relationships between alerts, events, and entities such as users, the investigation graph helps you quickly identify patterns and anomalies. See the MDTI Incident Details demo in this video for a good example of its use. Automated detonation enhances threat detection and response by automatically detonating the URL by executing it in a secure, isolated environment to observe its behavior and identify any malicious activities. When there are URLs in the logs ingested into Microsoft Sentinel, those URLs are automatically detonated to help accelerate the triage process. The alert is enriched with the results, and the investigation graph then includes a node for the detonated URL as well as a detonation verdict and detonation final URL after all redirects have been performed. Okay, moving on to the respond stage. Automation is key when it comes to responding to security threats quickly and effectively. Microsoft Sentinel leverages playbooks to automate security operations. They can also be used for incident management, for example to open a ticket or update a security status, as well as for incident enrichment and investigation and remediation. Playbooks in Sentinel are built using Azure Logic apps and are collections of customizable automated procedures which can be triggered by specific alerts or incidents or manually. Sentinel comes with a library of examples. As an example, a playbook can automatically isolate a compromised machine, block a malicious IP address, or notify relevant personnel when a threat is detected. This automation ensures that predefined actions are executed consistently and promptly, minimizing the risk of human error and ensuring a swift response to potential threats. As we will discuss in more detail later, MDTI Premium users can also install the Microsoft Sentinel Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence solution, which includes 8 playbooks which integrate a range of other data from MDTI into Sentinel. This includes data on web components, cookies, reputation data, passive DNS, reverse DNS, and trackers. Finally, before we move on and focus on MDTI integration, I'll wrap up this Sentinel overview by discussing how using Copilot for security with Microsoft Sentinel significantly accelerates incident investigations and can help you respond faster to threats. Copilot for Security can very rapidly and automatically analyze incident details, correlate related alerts, and provide a comprehensive summary of the threat landscape. It can also help you understand the actions executed by attackers by analyzing obfuscated scripts or suspicious files with a click of a button and no coding expertise necessary. Threat hunters can also ask questions in natural language, for example, get all alerts involving a particular user, and Security Copilot can generate KQL queries that correspond to the requests. Alternatively, Copilot for Security can automatically generate hunting queries, suggest mitigation steps, and even trigger automated responses based on predefined playbooks. Copilot for Security can also play a big role in helping you respond faster to threats. It can suggest a number of remediations and provide the option to execute the recommended next steps using playbook automation. Okay, let's move on and focus on the MDTI integration with Sentinel, which was announced in March 2024. That integration is available as 2 solutions in the Sentinel Content Hub. The Threat Intelligence solution for Sentinel includes 5 connectors, including, most importantly, the Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence Data Connector, which ingests a subset of freely available and public IOCs, and the premium Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence Data Connector, which provides value-added and more up-to-date IOCs from the MDTI team. Note that the premium users will want to use both of these connectors. The solution also includes 1 Threat Intelligence Workbook, 53 Analytics Rules, and 5 Hunting Queries. There is also a separate Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence solution for Sentinel, which includes 1 Threat Intelligence Workbook and 8 MDTI Sentinel Playbooks. As you will see, the combination of all these components can greatly help with threat detection, dynamic incident enhancement, and threat hunting and remediation. But first, let's briefly look at how to install all of these components. And let's start with the prerequisites for installing these integration components. To install most of these components, you need a license for Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence Premium. You also need to purchase the MDTI API Access SKU. Note that Copilot for Security includes an MDTI Premium license, but an MDTI API license is still required. To install any of the MDTI integrations, you also need to have the Microsoft Sentinel contributor role at the resource group level. Then, assuming your Microsoft Sentinel workspace is in the resource group, you should then also have the needed read and write permissions to that Sentinel workspace. A Sentinel workspace is an Azure Log Analytics workspace where all your data is stored and analyzed. It acts as a central repository for collecting and analyzing log data from various sources, including security events, performance data, and more. It is also where you configure data connectors, create and manage analytics rules, and investigate incidents. It provides the environment for running queries and visualizing data through workbooks and dashboards. Let's look at how to do all this in the Azure portal. First, go to the Azure portal and to the resource group containing your Microsoft Sentinel workspace, which is an Azure Log Analytics workspace. You can see that in this case, the resource group is called CyberSOC, and in that, the key resource is a Log Analytics workspace, also called CyberSOC. We don't need to open the workspace because we'll assign the RBAC role at the resource group level and it will inherit down. While in the resource group to set the scope, go to the Access Control or IAM section. To check your assignments, you can use the assignment sections or use check access and enter your ID, or using the old version of this page, select View My Access. Check that you have the Microsoft Sentinel contributor role. You can see here that I do not. However, if I go to another instance of Sentinel, which I created in another subscription in another tenant, you can see that in this case, not only do I have the Microsoft Sentinel contributor role, but I also have the contributor role. I actually want both because the contributor role does not explicitly include the Microsoft Sentinel contributor role, even though it does grant broad permissions that encompass many of the actions also allowed by the Microsoft Sentinel contributor role. If it's necessary to assign the correct role, then a user with sufficient privilege needs to go to the Resource Group, Access Control or IAM section and click on Add Role Assignment. Then choose the appropriate role for the user or group. In this case, you need to assign the Microsoft Sentinel contributor role, which allows users to install and update solutions from the Content Hub, create and edit resources like Workbook and analytics rules, and manage incidents. Select the user or group you want to assign the role to, confirm and save the role assignment, and then these rights will cascade down from the resource group to the contained workspace, so you'll then have the required read and write permissions. Because the two MDTI connectors are part of the Threat Intelligence solution, we first need to install that. If we first look at the connectors page, you will see that none of them are currently installed. Then, in Sentinel, go to the Content Management Content Hub and search for Threat Intelligence, and you will see the two solutions I just discussed. We will start with the Threat Intelligence solution. As you can see here, the Content Hub is great because it clearly lists the contents of the solution, which in this case is 5 connectors, 1 workbook, 53 analytics rules, and 5 hunting queries. So we click on install and all those components are installed. This does not immediately generate any activity because, as you will see, the connectors need to be connected, the workbook does nothing until opened, analytic rule templates need to be used to create active rules, and queries do nothing until they are run. If we look at the connectors page again, you'll see that we now have 5 connectors installed, but so far none of them are active. Okay, let's now install the Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence solution. This includes the Threat Intelligence Workbook and, at last count, 8 MDTI Sentinel playbooks. Again, in Microsoft Sentinel, we'll go to Content Management, Content Hub, search for Threat Intelligence, and select the Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence solution. Note again that you can see the components to be installed, and select the Install Update button. Now that both these solutions are installed, let's look at how to activate and use each of these components. Let's start with the MDTI data connectors, which are responsible for keeping Sentinel up to date by ingesting IOCs. If you have a license for Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence Premium and the related API license, then you're going to want to install both the Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence connector for the subset of freely available and public information and the Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence Premium connector, which provides value-added and more up-to-date IOCs from the MDTI team. Back on the Data Connectors page, I'll start with the Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence connector. I'll click on Open Connector page. On this page, under Import Indicators, I can choose the age of the indicators of compromise, or IOCs, to be imported and filter out the older IOCs. However, since most threats and IOCs are more than a month old, for good coverage you may want to select All Available. And because importing IOCs only helps if you also import logs to check against for the occurrence of those IOCs, it lists here some recommended logs which include fields which will be checked against the IOCs. So, as a separate task, if still necessary, you'll also want to install some of those connectors too. Finally, enable the feed by selecting Connect, after which it should indicate that it successfully connected to Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence Connector. Back on the Data Connector page, it should then appear in the list and show as connected. Next, you'll want to do the same for the Defender Threat Intelligence Premium connector. In my case, you will note that this fails because I do not have the required API license, but you get the idea. The next component we'll activate is a Threat Intelligence Workbook. When you first install the solution, you'll find that they don't appear in the Sentinel My Workbooks tab. This is because you first need to open the templates and select Save to create an active instance. Similar versions of this workbook are included in both the Threat Intelligence solution and the Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence solution. I'll go with what appears to be the more current version in the Threat Intelligence solution. So having selected it, I will press Save to create an active instance. Now that I have done that, when you go to the My Workbooks tab, you can see that it has appeared. Next, let's look how to activate, use and modify analytics rules. If we go to Sentinel's Configuration Analytics page, you can see that there are no active rules yet, but the 53 analytics rule templates installed by the Threat Intelligence solution do now appear on the Templates tab. If we look at this TI map URL entity to syslog data analytics rule template, for example, you can see that it includes a KQL query, run frequency, lookback period, event grouping definition, version, etc. Note that this rule groups event into a single alert. Other rules would need to be responsible for creating incidents where warranted. Explaining the KQL query in detail is beyond the scope of this presentation, but briefly you can see that it defines lookback periods, selects threat intelligence indicators that are active and have a URL and were generated within the last 14 days. It then joins those filtered indicators with syslog data from the last hour. It then filters to keep the latest syslog entries generated in the last hour and then summarizes it by keeping the latest syslog for each indicator ID and URL, and then selects and renames fields to include in the final output. In summary, this query matches URLs from threat intelligence indicators with URLs found in syslog data, focusing on recent and active indicators. If you want more detail, pause and read this slide. Now, to activate this rule, we need to press on Create Rule and step through the wizard. In the wizard, you can change the rule's name, description, severity, and set the MITRE ATT and CK tactics that this rule addresses so that those tactics will be then colored to indicate they are addressed in Sentinel's ATT and CK matrix. Set rule logic by altering the KQL query, mapping entities so Sentinel can recognize entities based on data in up to 3 fields returned by the query and thus classify them for further analysis, adding custom details by adding event parameters to alerts in the form of key value pairs, and you can modify the scheduling, start time and lookback period. The Incident Settings tab allows you to create incidents from alerts triggered by this rule and group alerts into incidents to reduce noise with various options. The Automated Response tab allows you to configure automation rules to run playbooks in response to an alert generated by this rule. When creating the automation rule, choose When Alert is Created as the rules trigger and add the playbook to the rules action list. Then click Next, review the details and click Save to create the rule. With this done, if you look again at the Active Rules tab, you will see that this rule we have created from the template is now listed. Users of Sentinel need to decide what analytics rules they want to activate and fine-tune those rules based on experience to increase incident quality, reduce noise, and operate within resource constraints. Now let's look at the 5 hunting queries that were installed as part of the Threat Intelligence solution for Sentinel. These will appear in Sentinel on the Threat Management Hunting page on the Queries tab. Hunting queries allow you to create very broad through to very detailed and specific queries to allow you to test hypotheses as part of proactive threat hunting, or to look for advanced threat patterns or to do behavioral analysis. They can also be used in incident investigations for root cause analysis, event correlation, and forensic analysis. After being tested and refined, queries can be used as part of analytics rules for automated monitoring and incident enrichment. Looking at any queries, you can see the KQL, and to run it, click View Results. Because this demo instance does not have a lot of alerts coming through, I get 0 results. But to test that the query can work, since I do have IOCs, I can force results by altering the KQL to look back 7 days, to not ignore empty file names by changing the join to the syslog from inner unique to left outer, and to ignore the syslog time generated check. Then I will get all the IOCs in the results. I can also go to my other instance of Sentinel, which does have rich logs and alerts. I can pick a query like Summary of Failed User Logons by Reason Failure and run the query by clicking either here or here. And for example, as you can see, I get 4 results. As you can see, understanding KQL, or the Kusto query language, is important if you want to get the most from using Sentinel. So to learn more, please use the links on this page. The final component of the MDTI integration into Sentinel are the playbooks from the Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence solution. At last count, it included 8 playbooks. While the MDTI Premium Data Connector for Sentinel integrates IOCs into Sentinel, these playbooks integrate a range of other data from MDTI into Sentinel. This includes data from web components, cookies, reputation data, passive DNS data, reverse DNS data, and trackers. These playbooks enrich incidents with all of that data. To use these playbooks, you need access to MDTI Premium and the MDTI APIs, since the APIs are used by the playbooks. With the solution installed, if we go to Configuration, Automation, we can see the installed templates in the Playbook Templates tab. Note that there are no playbooks on the Active Playbooks tab yet because we have to create them from the templates. There is also an Automation Rules tab. Automation rules are designed to automate the handling of incidents and alerts in Sentinel. They allow you to define conditions and actions that should be taken automatically when certain criteria are met. For example, you can create rules to automatically assign incidents to specific analysts, change the severity of incidents, or trigger playbooks. You can set up automation rules to run based on various triggers, such as the creation of a new incident. If we go back to the Playbook Templates tab, you should see 8 playbooks from this solution. MDTI Base. This playbook serves as the foundation for the other MDTI playbooks, providing essential configurations and settings to enable authentication and access of the MDTI API. MDTI Data Web Components gives visibility of web components, showing you the underlying structure related to an incident. MDTI Data Cookies provides additional data related to cookies for threat analysis. MDTI Automated Triage uses MDTI reputation data to automatically enrich incidents gathered by Microsoft Sentinel and determine if you have any high severity IOCs, and if so, will automatically increase the incident towards high severity. MDTI Intel Reputation enriches incidents with reputation data to help prioritize and respond to threats. MDTI Data Passive DNS integrates passive DNS data for enhanced threat detection. MDTI Data Reverse DNS uses reverse DNS data to provide additional context for threat intelligence, and MDTI Data Trackers focuses on integrating tracker data for comprehensive threat analysis. To use these playbook templates to create a playbook, select a playbook. You should always start with MDTI Base since it's a prerequisite for the other playbooks, and then click on Create Playbook. Then confirm the subscription and resource group settings. Normally they will be set to the same as Sentinel's Log Analytics workspace, and you will not want to change them. You can rename the workbook if you wish and select Next. Then, in this case, you need to set the API credentials to be used. Specifically, you need to set the client ID and client secret as required to access the MDTI Graph API. See my earlier video on MDTI APIs for a lot more information on this. In the case of the other 7 Sentinel MDTI playbooks, instead of this screen, you will see a different screen where you will be able to select the connections that will feed the playbook. Then select Review and Create, and finally select Create. This will then create the playbook, and since playbooks in Sentinel are in fact Azure Logic apps, you will then be taken to the Azure Logic App Designer, where you can optionally inspect the logic or make changes. For example, this box appears to be configured to respond back to the caller with instance and credential information, probably so this playbook can be a single store for that information, and the other 7 playbooks can call this playbook to retrieve it as required. Anyway, we don't want to change anything here, so we'll go back to the Configuration, Automation, Active Playbooks tab, and as you can see, the playbook we just created is now listed. After having now installed all 8 playbooks, it's worth noting that the other 7 playbooks are far more interesting. For example, if I click on the MDTI Automated Triage, it takes me to Logic Apps, and if I then open the Logic App Designer, you can see that they have a far more complex logic flow. As I suggested earlier, it first calls MDTI Base to get credentials, then does some initialization, and then there are 2 work streams, one for hosts and one for IPs. In both cases, it loops and performs 6 actions on each host or IP before the logic merges and makes a malicious or suspicious determination with appropriate actions. Now that we've discussed each of the components of the Sentinel MDTI integration, let's discuss the benefits of MDTI Premium and the Defender Threat Intelligence Premium connector. The Defender Threat Intelligence connector imports freely available and public indicators of compromise, or IOCs, whereas the Defender Threat Intelligence Premium connector imports additional high-value and often more up-to-date IOCs from MDTI Premium. These are IOCs identified by Microsoft's worldwide and interdisciplinary teams of over 10,000 researchers and experts spread across over 70 countries, who continually add new IOCs and analysis of threat activity as observed across more than 78 trillion threat signals. Let's look at the other integration components that make use of these imported IOCs and thus will benefit from additional IOCs with the Premium connector. I will start with the 8 MDTI playbooks in the Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence solution use the MDTI APIs and so can only be used by MDTI Premium customers with API licenses. As previously mentioned, these playbooks enrich incidents with a range of other data beyond IOCs from MDTI into Sentinel. This includes data on web components, cookies, reputation data, passive DNS, reverse DNS, and trackers. As we will see in an upcoming demo, the immediate benefit is that incident investigations have a lot more context and data to work with, and the enriched data includes links directly into MDTI, so investigators can seamlessly navigate into MDTI to look at raw intelligence on hosts, IP addresses, etc., as well as finished intelligence in the form of reports on common vulnerability exposures, or CVEs, threat actors, and tactics, techniques, and procedures, or TTPs. Hunting queries are written in KQL and will benefit from the premium connector because with more, higher value and more up-to-date IOCs, queries which join to IOCs will return more high value and more up-to-date results. On top of this, if the MDTI playbooks are used to enrich incidents, much more creative and insightful queries can now be constructed to query for web components, cookies, reputation data, passive DNS data, reverse DNS data, and trackers. And since workbooks show data and charts based on KQL queries, they will benefit in all the same ways that I just explained for hunting queries. And again, analytics rules generally benefit in much the same way. They will identify more threats because of the additional high-quality IOCs, and rules can now be written to take action based on things other than IOCs, such as web components, cookies, reputation data, passive DNS data, reverse DNS data, and trackers. In summary, these integrations of MDTI Premium into Sentinel enable enhanced threat detection, enrichment of incidents for rapid triage, and improved ability to launch investigations that proactively surface external threats as early as possible. As you can see, the MDTI integration with Microsoft Sentinel adds value in all stages of the threat management lifecycle. Let's now look at a couple of demos that illustrate the use of MDTI with Sentinel with all these integrations in place. We'll start with an example showcasing where an incident was triggered by a MDTI IOC. We'll start by looking at recent incidents in Microsoft Sentinel. Let's open the first one, and we can see here that the incident was created by an MDTI analytic rule which detected a DNS query for a known phishing domain. We'll click down here to view full details. On the left you can see that the description summarizes the incident and provides a link to an article in MDTI to learn more. So we'll click on that link. And that takes us directly into Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence Premium, or MDTI, and an article describing a fake social media verification phishing scheme. We'll click on the Public Indicators tab to see the associated IOCs. And it appears that instagramforbusiness.info is an indicator. So to learn more about that, we can click on it. And we can see resolutions, whois data, component data, etc. But let's focus on the host pairs tab to see associated infrastructure. Host pairs refer to two pieces of infrastructure, a parent and a child, that share a connection observed during a web crawl by a virtual user. These connections can include top-level redirects like HTTP 302 or embedded elements like iframes, script source, or image references. We see the child hostname newbigdata.science listed because of the use of an iframe, so let's look at that. Here you can see a host of both raw and finished intelligence about newbigdata.science to support further investigation. But let's go back to the report. As you can see, there is only one public IOC, but MDTI Premium users have access to an additional 250 indicators for this threat. To see them, we can click on the Defender TI Indicators tab. Based on its name, confirm Instagram.000webhostapp.com appears to be associated with the campaign, so let's click on that, and then click on the Host Pairs tab. We can see newbigdata.science is also listed as a child host name here, showing a connection to the campaign. Click on newbigdata.science to learn more about this host and its infrastructure connections, and then click on the Host Pairs tab, and then we'll click on the Cause tab and filter for script.source. We can then see hundreds of domains related to this campaign that we did not know about before. Okay, now let's look at another demo of a case where an incident has been enriched by an MDTI playbook, in this case a reputation playbook. Again, we'll go directly to the incidents page in Microsoft Sentinel. We'll click on the third incident, which is related to a user downloading a file from an SAP system using an IP address known to be malicious. Again, we'll click to view the incident's full details, but in this case we'll click on the incident timeline for more information. As you can see here, the last comment indicates that the MDTI reputation playbook has classified this incident as malicious. so we'll click into the comment to understand why this incident was created. We can see here that it was created by the MDTI reputation playbook, and the reason was a reputation of this IP address. So let's click on the IP address to get more information about it in MDTI Premium. That takes us over to MDTI, where we can see that the IP address is associated with Silk Typhoon. We'll click on that to learn more about this threat actor group in its Intel profile. Here we can read an overview or click on the group's TTPs or Tools, Tactics and Procedures to learn more. As you can see, the report goes into detail with code snippets to explain this exploit. We can also click on Indicators to see the 11 IOCs associated with this group. This includes 1 IP address and 11 file hash signatures. Let's click on the IP address to get more information. And we can see then that this IP address is associated with the hacking tool Cobalt Strike. Let's click to find out more in the tool's Intel profile. As we can see, Cobalt Strike is a commercially available penetration testing framework that was leaked online to GitHub and has since been used in a wide range of malicious attacks. If we then click on Indicators to see the infrastructure known by Microsoft to be associated with Cobalt Strike, you can see that there are more than 58,000 IOCs for this tool. It's worth noting here that of that 58,000 plus indicators, 2,453 are open source indicators, and the rest, the vast majority, are from Defender Threat Intelligence Premium. With this information, you can now take proactive action against these indicators. Okay, now let's look at another demo to describe more generally the richness of incidents in Sentinel, most of which benefits from the enrichment from MDTI. Let's again start with the incidents page, which provides detailed information including severity, status, and timeline of each incident. Here you get a quick overview of all the open incidents requiring review, with search and sorting capabilities enabling a focused response. You can investigate an incident and get full visibility into the sequence of an attack, view associated alerts, and take appropriate actions to contain data loss, remediate the threat, and prevent attackers from coming back. Let's dig into the multi-stage incident, which is comprised of 150 alerts and has high severity. You know an incident is bad when there are so many alerts. Let's investigate further by clicking on View Full Details. The incident timeline shows a chronological list of the alerts that formed the attack, which you can select individually for further investigation. Under Entities, you can see related hosts, accounts, IP addresses, apps, and more, allowing security teams to quickly understand the context and scope of the incident. The top Insights pane provides a lot more detail and perspectives on the attack. As you can see here, this pane contains a lot of content. Using this link, analysts can also investigate such sophisticated threats directly in Microsoft 365 Defender. This integration keeps the incidents synchronized across both portals, allowing you to take advantage of the benefits of both Microsoft Sentinel and Microsoft 365 Defender in your incident investigations. The activity log link at the top provides new capabilities for incident audits and a log analytics query window to investigate logs. And here you can drill down on events, alerts, or bookmarks to open the logs panel within the incident page. The logs panel will display a query based on your selection, and you can go through the query results in depth without pivoting away from the incident. At the bottom of this panel, analysts can add comments to enrich the case with any findings discovered along the way or to provide context to teammates. Beyond all of that, we can also click on the Investigate button for further investigations. The investigation graph provides us with an interactive visual chart to get a better understanding of alerts, entities, and the connections between them. It also helps us understand the scope of the attack and the blast radius. If we click on Timeline, we can step through the individual alerts and see how the attack evolves graphically over time. Let's go back to the incident page to continue our investigation, and let's search for SAP alerts in the incident timeline, and let's then investigate this particular SAP alert. By scrolling down to the bottom of the left pane and clicking on this link, you will automatically open Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence. You'll see that the IP address is associated with Silk Typhoon and Cobalt Strike. From here you can continue your investigation in MDTI. But if we go back to the incident page in Sentinel, also note that the incident actions like create teams, run playbook, and automation rules are amongst other proactive actions you can take from here. My next video will be about using Copilot for security with Sentinel and MDTI, but before I wrap up, let me briefly touch on that subject. Microsoft Sentinel data integrates with Copilot for security in two ways. In Microsoft's Unified Security Operations platform, the embedded Copilot in Microsoft Defender XDR benefits from the unified incidents integrated with Microsoft Sentinel. In the standalone experience, in Azure, Microsoft Sentinel provides two plugins to integrate with Security Copilot, the Microsoft Sentinel plugin and the Natural Language to KQL for Microsoft Sentinel plugin. With these integrations in place, Copilot for Security provides the natural language processing capabilities to translate complex Sentinel or Unified Security Operations platform incidents enriched with MDTI data into actionable insights, enabling quicker triage and helping accelerate and guide remediation. All this can happen in minutes, not days, and will often catch what others miss due to its ability to correlate across multiple massive data sets. Using Sentinel with MDTI is only effective when it's easy to apply in the day-to-day workflows of a security team. Copilot for Security does just that. In my next video, I will go into more detail about setting up and using Copilot for Security with Sentinel and MDTI. In this presentation, we explored the integration and use of Microsoft Sentinel with Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence, or MDTI, which together form a powerful security operations platform that helps organizations stay ahead of sophisticated adversaries, ultimately enhancing our overall security posture. Thank you for your attention. I hope this presentation has offered valuable insights on how we can leverage Microsoft Sentinel and MDTI to outpace sophisticated threats and enhance our security measures. That brings us to the end of this video. Thanks very much for watching. I hope it was helpful, and if it was, please give it a thumbs up. Other videos in this series provide an overview of MDTI, an in-depth look at the MDTI APIs, and a guide to threat hunting with MDTI. My next video will be on setting up and using Copilot for security with Sentinel and MDTI. I hope you're able to watch those videos too. Thanks again, and all the best.